I want you to grab your phone and picture this. Just 75 years ago, to match the computational power of this handheld gadget, you would need a device 10 times the size of the Empire State Building. Hi, I'm Leanna Lowe, and thank you so much for tuning in to listen to this episode of Turning Points in History. Today, we're diving into what I consider the most crucial invention of our time: transistors. In the early 20th century, electronic amplifiers were clunky and inefficient, holding back their performance. By the mid-1900s, Bell Labs changed the game with the transistor, a technological marvel characterized by its reduced size, enhanced reliability, and increased energy efficiency. It was smaller, more reliable, and much more energy efficient. This innovation marked a turning point in technological history, spurring unprecedented connectivity and technological progress. With all electronics now relying on its ability to control and amplify electric signals, the transistor sparked the Third Industrial Revolution, standing as a pivotal force in influencing our society's interactions and innovations. Okay, so what exactly is a transistor? For that, we need to go back 200 years in history. It all stems from a desire to transmit and process information. Back in the early 1900s, information flowed through telegraphs, relying on clunky mechanical relays to amplify weak signals. Though it worked, the inefficiencies reinforced the need for something smaller, faster, and more efficient. The vacuum tubes were next. It was a breakthrough, but it came with drawbacks. These tubes, housed in glass bulbs with heated filaments and electrodes, often struggled with limited amplification. As electrical professor Richard Blaha said,
"The vacuum tubes were big, bulky, expensive. They didn't last a long time."
Consider the ENIAC, completed in 1945. It was the first programmable electronic computer, consisting of 19,000 vacuum tubes. But it had its flaws.
But this thing weighed 30 tons and took up an entire room. It was incredibly power hungry, as the vacuum tube cathodes needed to be heated to work, which also meant that the vacuum tubes burnt out regularly and needed to be replaced.
Driven by the dream of miniaturization, scientists at Bell Labs sought a better solution. Bell Labs, the research department at AT&T, aimed to enhance telephone technology. So, what was this better solution that they wanted to create? It was a transistor. Simply put, a transistor is a device that can switch an electric current on or off. It's like an electric gate that can open and shut thousands of times every second, boosting current as it passes through. These abilities are fundamental to building all sorts of electronics. William Shockley was a brilliant theorist who focused on solid-state alternatives to filament technologies and aimed to achieve the same function with greater efficiency. He had been theorizing about transistors for over a decade, envisioning a semiconductor component that could amplify electrical signals efficiently. However, many were skeptical. Electrical engineer Nick Holonek from the University of Illinois reflected this skepticism.
At the time to do this is crazy. It's unimaginable because it's so radically different. There's nothing like this. No one has had anything ever like this.
Shockley still believed in his idea. To help him, he hired John Bardeen and Walter Brayton. The three of them worked together quite well on this invention. Shockley oversaw, Brayton ran the experiments, and Bardeen interpreted the results. Bardeen and Brayton spent 2 years working late nights in the lab, surrounded by wires, crystals, and germanium compounds. They watched their oscilloscope, hoping to see the voltage increase, echoing a rhythm of tireless pursuit. After 2 years of intense work, on December 23, 1947, Bardeen and Brayton achieved a breakthrough. They successfully built the point contact transistor, a tiny device made of gold foil and a slab of germanium that could amplify and switch electrical signals. This wasn't just another invention, it was a true turning point. Breton recorded the events in his journal.
My notes for the day say this: using the germanium surface and the gold contacts, a distinct gain in speech level could be heard.
Imagine shrinking a power-hungry elephant down to the size of a bumblebee. That's the difference between the previous vacuum tube and the newly made transistor. Transistors used a millionth of the power, generated less heat, and could be packed closer together. This paved the way for devices that were smaller, faster, and more efficient. a true turning point in technology. It is often said that there have been 4 industrial revolutions. The first in the 1760s was the mechanization era, which saw the transition from manual labor to machine-based production. The second in the late 1800s was the mass production era, marked by industrialization and the electrification of society, leading to inventions like the light bulb and telephone. The transistor itself led to the third industrial revolution, often called the digital revolution. This era witnessed the rise of electronics and information technology, transforming industries such as healthcare, communication, and exploration. Take healthcare. Before transistors, hearing aids for the impaired were large and cumbersome, including horns, tubes, and acoustic headbands. Even later versions using vacuum tubes remained heavy and bulky, enclosed in wooden boxes that users had to hold to their ears. However, after the transistor's invention, everything changed. Norman Krim pioneered incredibly small and discrete hearing aids. This transformation replaced bulky devices with discrete aids tucked behind the ear, which was a life-changing difference for millions.
I can hear my baby girl!
Like this mom hearing her daughter talk for the first time using hearing aids. It also revolutionized communication. Before the transistor, radios were bulky, weighing several pounds. In 1954, Texas Instruments released the Regency TR-1, the first commercially available transistor radio. It was portable, fitting easily into a pocket or purse, and could be listened to through its speaker or earphone. All of a sudden, personal entertainment became portable, offering newfound freedom and mobility in consuming media. Sports broadcasts, news on the go, or rock and roll followed people across the nation wherever they went. It wasn't just used for entertainment, though. The transistor radio played a crucial role in saving lives during a devastating cyclone in Bangladesh in the 1970s. As traditional communication infrastructure was destroyed, the portable and affordable radios helped broadcast warnings directly to rural communities, enabling people to take shelter and evacuate. Aid workers also used these radios to coordinate rescue and relief efforts, ultimately saving thousands of lives. In 1956, John Bardeen, Walter Brayton, and William Shockley won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their discovery of the transistor with its endless impacts. The story doesn't end there. In 1958, another turning point occurred. Jack Kilby's integrated circuit packed multiple transistors onto a single chip, further miniaturizing and empowering devices. This innovation pioneered the modern laptop and phone chips, which is the reason you're able to listen to this podcast right now. As time went on, the efficiency of transistors only improved, featuring a more compact design. The first transistors created would be around triple the size of a grain of sand, but now, almost 3 billion modern transistors can fit on a single grain. Former Intel CEO Craig Barrett explains how at the beginning of his years at Intel, each chip had
roughly 1,000 transistors or so. And today, we have a couple of billion transistors.
After the mechanization era, the mass production era, and information revolution brought by the transistor, you might be wondering what industrial era we're in now. The fourth industrial revolution is often called Industry 4.0, characterized by the convergence of physical and digital technologies, like the rise of AI, robotics, and the Internet of Things. Industry 4.0 wouldn't exist without the transistor. Its miniaturization and increased computing power enabled advancements in AI, machine learning, big data analytics, and communication technologies. For example, new transistors made of carbon nanotubes can be continuously reconfigured by electric fields to almost instantaneously handle multiple steps in AI-driven processes. Transistors revolutionized electronics by replacing bulky and inefficient vacuum tubes, leading to the miniaturization of electronic devices like computers and smartphones. Their invention paved the way for the digital age, impacting communication, computing, and countless other industries. As we marvel at the wonders of Industry 4.0, it's worth remembering that none of this would be possible without the humble transistor. This tiny device didn't just revolutionize electronics by replacing vacuum tubes. It paved the way for the digital age, fundamentally transforming the way we live and work. This tiny device opened doors to unimaginable possibilities, reminding us that even the smallest inventions can be true turning points in history.